Welcome back, ghouls and gals. Today we are in for another installment of I Finally Watched, where I'm going through my extensive list of movies that I've purposely skipped for one reason or another, because I have a very specific taste, I guess, when it comes to horror movies. Like, I will watch absolute schlock, but if you're remaking a movie that I truly love and I think it's going to be bad, like, I'm not going to watch it until today. In part 2 to this series, I talked about Martyrs and The Grudge, the remakes, and how they completely just stripped away any goodness the original movies had and have, and today we're talking about 2 more horror movies that just suck the soul out of the originals. We're talking about Blair Witch from 2016 and The Children of the Corn from 2020, but it was released in 2023. So strap in. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give this a thumbs up, subscribe for more, check out all of my links down below if you would like to see any more of me or support the channel any further. I also will leave the playlist link down below if you'd like to catch up on the previous 2 episodes of this series. And hey, check out the Get Weird podcast while you're there. Okay, let's start off with the Blair Witch. In my paranormal activity ranking video, I was telling the story about how I first came to know about the Blair Witch and how I truly believed that this was a real thing for so long when I was a little girl. I was so afraid of the woods for so long, and I mean, for good reason, I guess, but with this remake, I was cautiously optimistic going into it. I can't believe it's been a full 10 years and I waited this long to watch this movie. I just genuinely did not have high hopes. But anyways, I was cautiously optimistic because this continues the lore, but I really don't think we needed a continuation. Blair Witch follows James, the brother of Heather Donahue from 1999's The Blair Witch Project, who believes his sister may still be alive after discovering a mysterious YouTube video seemingly shot in the Black Hills forest. He assembles a small group, including a local pair who claim to know the woods, and ventures into the forest with modern technology like drones, GPS, body cameras, and what begins as a search and rescue quickly descends into disorientation, paranoia, and escalating terror as the forest warps reality, time fractures, and the night stretches into unnaturally long hours, and the group realizes that the woods doesn't just hide the witch, it rewrites the rules of existence. Now, one thing I will say is there will be a couple of perhaps spoilers going forward. One thing that really just PMO, like, pissed me off about this movie, I hate hearing my name. I hate hearing my name so bad, just like continuously. So to hear Ashley being screamed so like upwards of at least 50 times, it made me want to pull my hair out. It was just so grating. And I fear this movie had something going for it until it didn't. What I love and admire about 1999's The Blair Witch Project is how fearless it felt. It had some huge swings, and the actors sold the premise so much better. And unfortunately for director, our beloved Adam Wingard, this felt like he was almost pandering to production. 99's Blair Witch Project was accidental, it was unknowable, it was dangerous. You're forced to put yourself in Heather's shoes throughout this movie, and when she breaks down, you truly feel it. It is a believable, 100% believable breakdown. Her face in the camera, the snot, the tears, the like, it's so scary when you're really putting yourself in her position. Imagine you are stuck in the woods, you have no idea where you are, you think it's haunted. I would be shitting my pants. Maybe it's just me, but the 2016 continuation feels soulless. It feels emotionless. It almost feels dead behind the eyes, if you will. Wingard tried to modernize the myth too much, and by doing that, he stripped away any potential for like believability, for any kind of wanting to feel like this was rooted in some sort of I don't know, it feels like you really took what was set in time in the 90s and you really, with modernizing, it feels like it neutered it. All of the tech that I mentioned turns the forest into something completely observable. Almost like a Extracted TV show. Like, you're watching all these body cameras and people in the woods just breaking down because they want to go home, and oh my god. But the original, it just feels like a couple of kids out in the woods with a couple of cameras and fuckery is afoot. The multicam structure, the drones, it completely kills the existential dread that we should be feeling from a Blair Witch film. Yes, we get jump scares, we get time loops, we get on-screen violence. Cool. It's the unmasking of the Blair Witch. It almost makes the actors feel like they're in a paid horror haunt. It just feels like a spectacle. And yeah, some found footage is a spectacle, but this is not something that you want to be. Like, this is something that I want to be more grounded, more contained, less cameras, more static footage, less of my name being screamed. Instead of a cool story continuation, we get too much mythology, too many rules, and an almost visible threat, which I really hate, and we'll talk more about that. The found footage feels misguided in this film almost, and I feel like I've seen enough found footage films to feel that way. And going back 10 years removed from this movie, after watching a plethora of other A, found footage films, and B, Adam Wingard films, I feel like he's more competent than this, and this film did not live up to the competency of the story or the director or the writer. Wasn't great. It's not totally incompetent. It's just, it feels like the gimmick was forced. The Blair Witch Project trusts its audience entirely, and the Blair Witch does not. The original understands that fear lives within the uncertainty, and the remake, once again, does not. It keeps trying to reassure us as the viewer with answers, and that's not what we need from a Blair Witch movie. We need to keep guessing, because that's just like, what else do you want? I don't want the Blair Witch to be solved. I don't want the Blair Witch to be a physical entity. I want to be scared of the woods. This movie ended up being the complete opposite of what I wanted from a continuation of the original. I'm gonna go ahead and give this one a 1.5 out of 5, perhaps. Let me see what I rated it on Letterboxd. Yes, I did in fact give this a 1.5. Now, there is a documentary that corresponds to this version of the Blair Witch. I sadly cannot find it. I only have the DVD for this. I do not have the Blu-ray, and I feel like this is on the special features of the Blu-ray. I can't even find it on my, my sites. But anyways, it's more or less a feature-length documentary, the making of. It is called Never Ending Night, the making of the Blair Witch. I had to go into my watch list to show you. This is like kind of what you're looking for on Letterboxd, if you want to find that for yourself. But it's on my watch list. I cannot find it. So maybe that will redeem the movie a little bit for me, but I doubt it. So let's move on to our next pick, Children of the Corn. Talk about a film that completely demystifies the creature. Like, this one should have ended 5-6 remakes ago. This should have ended at Children of the Corn 3 Urban Harvest, And talk about a mockery. Like, this film makes He Who Walks Behind the Rose a complete mockery of what we got in the original film. One of the reasons the original works is because it treats horror as kind of a religious inevitability. He Who Walks Behind the Rose is completely unseen in the 84 version, and it almost makes the children feel indoctrinated in an unseen, unfelt kind of way. It makes them feel more, cultish instead of feral. They feel very feral in the remake. In this remake, I should say. Set in a drought-stricken rural town, we follow Eden, a very young girl who leads the children of the town to a violent uprising after believing the adults betrayed the land they live off of. With the guidance of a powerful entity believed to dwell within the fields, Eden rallies the children to overthrow and murder the adults, establishing a new order, ruled by fear, faith, and brutality. Wow, doesn't that sound familiar, guys? I would just like to take a second here to say, abolish ICE. Anyways, back to the movie. Instead of this being a complete religious horror movie, we're treated to more of a YA young adult rebellion horror. It feels very YA. The kids don't feel like a cult in this movie. Somehow they feel more aggressive, they feel colder, they feel angrier than a cult would. And instead of being an anti-hero, Eden is more of a disturbing prophet. And what we're left with is a story of generational uprising instead of a corruption of faith, which I fear would have been a better premise for this story. And worst of all, he who walks behind the rose is a completely visible cornstalk demon, and it is laughable. Honestly, I was like, what the fuck is that, brother? Like, it's so bad. Once this thing has a body, the mystique entirely dissipates and it's gone. And what are they like? This is a joke. You guys are like bowing down to this cornstalk. Like, take a chainsaw, cut it in half. But this is exactly what we talked about with the Blair Witch. The entity becomes physical rather than symbolic. And suddenly the known is fully known, and that layer of fear and terror is totally stripped away. It's just like in the movie Mama, when you see the creature for too long at the end of the movie, and then you realize the short film is better because you see less, you have more to fear. It just becomes another monster that could just be defeated, if like Pennywise style, you know? This movie completely misunderstands the source material. The 1984 version shows religious extremism, blind faith, blind obedience, and divine punishment. And the 2020-2023 version is more based on rage, vengeance, with almost an environmental collapse and, like I mentioned, a generational resentment. Like, it's not a terrible idea, it's just not a Children of the Corn story. I mean, I guess it is, but it's not like, it's not my Children of the Corn. To wrap it up, the kids aren't creepy enough for me, they're just too mean. I want to punch them in the face, not literally. I wouldn't punch a child, but Eden, catch these hands. They're just not creepy enough, and they just lean like more towards character. Like, all the characters in this movie lean more towards characters out of a YA young adult dystopian horror film, horror book. Just not my Children of the Corn. It's almost like a folk horror creature feature with social commentary. It never fully commits. It did have potential, and just like the Blair Witch, it over-delivers and the horror dies as soon as it's explained. So that was a doozy. These two movies were really hard to get through. I will say I'm not going to do a video on it, but we literally just watched the Mutilator remake and the Slumber Party Massacre remake, and I'm tired. Original source material out the window. Piss me off. Our next one of these I'm really excited. I want to talk about Countdown because I did skip that movie, and Torn Hearts. I'm actually really excited to watch that one because after revisiting Sons of Anarchy, I am excited to watch Katie Seagal in a horror film. So on that note, these movies were terrible. I would give Children of the Corn a That's gonna be a 1. That's gonna be a 1 out of 5, friends. Not very great films today, but I hope you got something out of this video. So thank you for watching. I will see you guys very soon. I have another haul going, but I think I'm gonna wait a little longer. Maybe we can do quarterly hauls this year. Let me know your thoughts. I'll see you guys so soon. Sayonara, Spooky fam.